So, we're going to pick up where we left off last week. So last week I asked you to bring your list of those mandates that the Lord has given you that you picked up and rushed out to do, and it fell over, or you got disappointed, or it didn't work the way you expected it to work, or whatever. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to have a look at that list, because what we need to understand is that as part of the process of a mandate is that we need to come into agreement with it. We need to, because the Lord never he never contradicts our will. He won't go against. That's why we have free will. Now, I know that you may think, well, but the fact that I wanted to rush out there and do that says that I want this. But actually, what we need to look at is that the way that we would execute something may not necessarily be the way that the Lord would execute something. So the fact that we get up and start to walk in something doesn't necessarily constitute our yes to the Lord. It constitutes our yes to how we see it happen, because we get up and we start to move in that to facilitate and make that happen, because we've kind of decided, right, this is how it's going to look, and I feel comfortable with that, and I feel that that's something that I can control. It's something that I could do. It's something that I could be good at. We look at the whole situation and we make a judgment based on that as to whether we're going to come into agreement with it. And one of the things we need to understand is that actually, when we start to walk in kingdom purposes, He's the boss. So He has a plan and a strategy for that mandate that may look absolutely nothing. In fact, I'm going to say almost certainly will look absolutely nothing like the plan that you have put together in your head. So, one of the important things in re-looking at mandates is to understand that the first thing you need to do is you need to allow that dream that inspired you in the first place, that dream, you need to allow the dream to have life breathed back into it, but you need to allow the plan to die, because the Holy Spirit inspired the dream. And then we took over and we established a plan. And the number of times that I have got in the way and made a mess of what God was trying to do because I didn't understand the process. So the first thing you need to do is you need to look back at that list, and you need to come into that place of agreement with the Lord. So the first thing is you surrender your plan. You lay down your plan and you say, okay, Lord, so you said this, and I did this, and it fell over. So I agree with the mandate. I want to go back to what you said. So you said to me, the mandate on my life is to work with young people. I want to go back to that mandate. I want to ignore what has happened. I want to take responsibility. Now there's a good one. I want to take responsibility that I got in the way. I want to take responsibility because actually I made a mess of this and I've been blaming you. So what you need to do is we need to be real here, guys, because if we can't be real with ourselves, then we're never going to be able to walk in the fullness of what He's got for us. So the reality is, I made a mess. So, Lord, I'm bringing you my mess, and I'm going to nail it to the cross, because that's where it belongs. Because in exchange for that, you can breathe life back into that dream. You can breathe life back into that that vision that you gave me. You can reignite that passion that I had that has now gone dry. But actually, we have to lay down our plan. So that is the price that it costs to be able to allow Him to resurrect the things that haven't gone anywhere. So with regards to mandates that you know about and have fallen over, that's the process. Now I want you to look at mandates that you know about that because of past history, you're now a little bit nervous. So when God says do, you don't automatically rush out there to do it, but you still don't know what am I supposed to do with this? So the next thing that happens is that people will take a mandate and they go, okay, so I tried the doing it myself, that one didn't work. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to put it up on a shelf and I'm going to wait until the Lord does something. Now, the interesting thing is that very often mandates get released through prophetic words. And, excuse me, I know so many people who've had prophetic words over their lives and they haven't actually started to walk in those prophetic words because they have no understanding that a prophetic word requires a response. Excuse me. What we need to understand is that it's like a bowl of ice cream. So Daddy is saying, I want to give you a bowl of ice cream. Now, we know how it works. If I offer my daughter a bowl of ice cream, I certainly don't go to the freezer and get it out and dish it up until she said, yes, please. Because she may not fancy the bowl of ice cream. She may want the bowl of ice cream a little bit later. And this is often how it is with mandates. The Lord says, this is what I have for you, my son. This is what I want. And we just shove it on the shelf. We do nothing with it. There is a response that is required. Heaven requires a response when it releases an invitation. And the response is either yes or no. Or, in some cases, people go, I don't know if I want this. But it requires a response in order for heaven to align with that mandate. In order for heaven to align with that mandate, we have to align with heaven. So the first thing is, yes, Father, I say yes. You know, one of my catchphrases is, it doesn't matter what the question is, the answer is yes. I've learned that. If you want to walk in kingdom things, everything he has for me is good. Therefore, it doesn't matter what he asks me for, I say yes. So that is the first thing. It requires a response. The next thing we need to understand is that the Lord walks us through a process that is manageable. So he starts to open little steps that lead us into that thing. And often the little steps can look nothing like the end product. So for instance, with me, one of the things that I find particularly challenging is teenagers. And so I wouldn't necessarily choose to walk a path that would have me working with teenagers. Well, having said this, I'm going back 10 years. That's probably changed now quite a lot for me. Just as I'm standing here, I'm recognizing that actually, hey, I don't feel like that anymore. But there was a time when I felt very much like that. But the call on my life was to teach. And the Lord he opened a door for me, not long after he prophesied about me teaching. He opened a door for me to lead a teenager Bible study. And the mere thought of that filled me with dread. And I could see no correlation to my mandate in the door that was looking to open for me. But even then I understood this concept that it doesn't matter what the question is, the answer is yes. And so I said yes, knowing that somehow he had a plan. When I look back at that now, I see significant things that he taught me through certain situations that he caused me to walk through that were imperative for the next season. And so when I look back now, I can see his path of getting me to where I am today. But it's certainly not a path I would have plotted for myself, because it's around the houses kind of path, and it's doing things, not my favorite kind of stuff path. So I wouldn't have chosen that path, but it's been absolutely necessary to come into that place of being able to fulfill my mandate, to allow him to fulfill my mandate. Now, there are people out there who are able, by sheer will and determination, to fulfill a mandate according to a plan that they've strategized and released. But very often they are exhausted holding everything together. Kingdom living is about freedom. It's about peace. It's about an ease. There's an ease to kingdom living. There's an ease in our mandate, because the mantle releases the authority that enables us to walk in those things. So I want to encourage you, as a result of this now, to start to ask the Lord about the mandates that you want to start to have facilitated in your life. And I'm going to ask you to spend some time soaking, or however it is that you come to that place of being still with the Lord that enables him to release encounters for you. Because actually it's in the encounter that the mantle is released. It's in the encounter. A mandate can be released through the hubbub. In the hubbub of life, the Lord can send somebody who will prophesy into your life a mandate. But actually the mantle only comes through encounter. Because he's saying, if you really want this, then come hang out with me. Because he knows that in order for us to walk in the fullness of our mandate, we're going to have to be in that place of intimacy. We're going to have to be in that place of snuggling up with him, in that place of encounter that enables us to release whatever it is that we need on not even a day by day, on a moment by moment basis. We have to be in that place of communion with him. That actually everything we think, everything we say, everything we live, everything we are is a result of that relationship and that connection that we have with him every moment of every day.